The situation in this market is crazy, and if you're looking to find out where this thing might be going next, then here we are with some very realistic, grounded takes. Thank you all for tuning into this channel. We've been really covering this very closely. Obviously, we were talking about the risk of a deviation, and that hasn't actually happened. We're continuing to fall within this empty liquidity pocket, which we've been talking about for weeks and months, about how, you know, if Bitcoin does end up kind of falling below 90, there could be a very big drop to come until we can capture some support, and that support does still put us down in the low 70s. Now, there are a couple of things that could be happening in between as well, so there's a lot that we're going to be unpacking in this video. If you're excited for it, do me a favor and smash up those likes. And obviously, if you're looking for a place to trade, if you want to trade with a bit of free money, take advantage of this volatility, the best platforms in the game are linked in the description. All you've got to do is sign up and start trading, and these platforms will give you huge bonuses that you can trade with, and any profits that you make with those gains are actually going to be yours to keep, which is super cool. I do want to very quickly show you that Blowfin is running an extremely cool promotion right now, where depending on how much you trade, you can actually get a Model 3 for free as part of that little promotion there. So check that out if you're interested, and if you're not from a restricted region. But bringing it back to the chart here, very clear liquidity pocket that Bitcoin has now entered. You know, we've got the bottom of our support range, kind of, I'd say at about like kind of 89, 90k, and down to the current price, we're now down by 6%. So, you know, if we're kind of assessing the probability of a deviation, which basically means that Bitcoin ends up doing something a little bit like this, and then nothing really happens, and, you know, we just kind of pretend that this didn't happen, basically. You know, if we are kind of covering that risk, then I think one of the first things that we'd probably be well served from doing is just kind of pointing out what some of these horizontal levels would probably look like. And so, just to draw a horizontal level right here at about, again, you know, the 60k area, 59.5. I think it's also very poetic that our you know, kind of key points on these charts are basically just exactly $30,000 away. I don't think that's any surprise whatsoever. These markets do love these round numbers. But if we do take a look at what this is showing us, you know, we had this pretty clearly profiled, defined kind of $60,000 level of support. We had a little deviation right here, and it didn't actually take us down by very much. This is about a 4.7% deviation. So I don't know where you want to draw the kind of bottom of this range. I think that this is kind of the most aggressive that you can get. And even if you do go by this, then we are still kind of, you know, a little bit further out than 4.7. And if you're measuring this, you know, I think actually quite a reasonable place to measure, you know, the bottom would actually be kind of where a lot of these wicks came from, right? Take a look at this. You get some nice bounces coming off here. We got, just to make this super clear. You know, and by the way, hopefully you can tell we're a couple of minutes into this YouTube video, and there's no, you know, we're not doing any fear mongering here. We're not actually that scared or upset about what's going on in the market. And that's a really important take, because scared money doesn't make money. And if you want to be able to profit in these markets, then you basically want to be attacking it with the same kind of headspace that you're hearing me come at it from with this YouTube video, which is just that it is what it is. We're not getting emotional about it. We're not getting upset. Yeah, we lost money, but the market doesn't give a fuck. So if you give a fuck, you're at a bigger disadvantage than you are at already. You know, so we're really, and there's a big concept here, which I talk about on this YouTube channel. You're not going to hear it anywhere else, because nobody else actually trades in these markets, so they wouldn't be able to tell you. But it is a concept called psychological capital, okay? And that's actually a really important thing that people don't really think about preserving, which is that, you know, you can lose 50% of your money, you can lose 10% of your money, but let's say you lose 10% of your money, but your psychological capital drops down by like 50%. Let's say it just really like winds you, and it really like grinds you down, and it just like really upsets you. You're gonna have less of a footing to take your next trade, and that's actually gonna really hurt you. So, you know, these are the kind of very realistic, you know, takes that, quite frankly, people don't really care about until times like this in the market. But, you know, hopefully you were watching this YouTube channel before this drop happened, so that you could have kind of, you know, position yourself a little bit to make sure that this doesn't hurt as much as it has hurt other people's. I think it's a really important topic, and if you kind of want me to cover more stuff like that, then definitely do me a favor and smash those likes up, and of course double check that you are subscribed as well. But like I said, we can probably put the kind of real kind of low right here, and that does put this at a price of about 91.4, which I think is pretty fair. You can just kind of see by some of these, you know, rejections that we got initially and support hits. And again, if we measure it from that perspective, well, then this deviation becomes a 2.7% deviation, but this one becomes 8.3. So we're kind of starting to leave the territory of deviations. Or are we? Because if we take a look at what happened before, this was a 10% deviation, and then the market managed to recover, and then we got an even bigger one at 17%. So this is kind of where I can't even really with a straight face tell you that this is a deviation, because it's just ridiculously large in terms of size. But I mean, what can I say? The market ended up recovering back above this, admittedly not very well. You know, it's still kind of, you know, messed around quite a bit and came back down, but it ended up, you know, I mean, if it didn't end up doing this, it'd be like, okay, but it did, you know, and it all came after these kind of deviations here. So as much as it makes me sick to say that we can get a 17% deviation, which I think is just pathetic and ridiculous, and you can't trade based off that because the range is just too big, as much as I hate saying it, I can't really rule it out, right? I mean, the market has proven that that's what it's going to be doing, but I think, you know, the broader discussion, and we've been very, very clear about this on this YouTube channel, is that we're not really even looking at Bitcoin. This is primarily only basically an S&P 500 question. This is more of a traditional finance question, and obviously this is going to be primarily just because of the trade wars that are taking place now, Trump announcing some tariffs on the European Union as well. So there's you know, a lot of kind of real world stuff going on right now, which has kind of sent these markets lower. And again, it's not just Bitcoin either, right? If we take a look at gold, you know, gold has also really seen a little bit of a tumble here. I mean, it set its all-time high at about 29.50, and granted, I mean, this is not very bad at all, but you know, for gold, still, it's a minus 1.3% move. It's down by about $40. You know, down to its low, it actually fell down by about 65, by about 2%. So, you know, we're still seeing some, you know, some moves down on gold, and I think that honestly absolves us of everything, right? I mean, if you really think about it, the fact that Bitcoin's been suffering a little bit, but at the same time that gold is pulling back, at the same time that the S&P 500 is pulling back, I think at that point, if you think Bitcoin's going to be fucking Superman and be the only thing that doesn't actually get screwed, then I don't know, man. I think you're a little bit, you know, I think there's a little bit of delusion going on there, quite honestly. You know, the biggest problem with this range is just going to be the fact that there's no support down until kind of 73, 72k. We've been very vocal about this on this YouTube channel. You know, we've been knowing that that's going to be a risk, you know, of this market for a while, that, you know, kind of Bitcoin can fall down to the 72k zone. Like I said, there are going to be a lot of, you know, kind of people with really fringe indicators right now showing you that there's like a speculative bottom at 82 or 76 or 75 or whatever, you know, pick any number, right? You know, if the market bounces off any of these levels before it gets to 73, please understand that that's entirely luck-based. There's really no tool that you can use at this stage to tell you that there's still some support in this range. I think that there are maybe one or two exceptions, and I want to show you both of them because I think they're highly reliable. The first one is the daily Ichimoku cloud, although this is about to go out of play because we're about to fall out of it. We already got 1 and 2 successful bounces out of this cloud, and typically after the second bounce, I'm not saying that it's going to fail, but I'm certainly not saying that I'm going to expect it to work phenomenally well again, right? And I think that's a really big, very, very important difference to be aware of. And then the second one, if we take this over to the weekly, is just the EMAs, right? I mean, if we take a look at some of the EMAs for Bitcoin right here, there's a big band of support right now for Bitcoin. Quite frankly, I don't see Bitcoin falling out of this, and if we do, I don't see it falling out of it by much. It's right now stretching all the way down to 74k, you know, and so a little kind of temporary bottom at like 67, 68, 69, 70, whatever the hell it is, you know, that would still very, very much keep this in play the same way that this one did right here, yeah, where we get a little bit of a wick down, but it would, you know, it really would signal something, I think, if the market did end up losing its weekly momentum. We really flipped it and became bullish with it over here, but we didn't really establish a spread until kind of, you know, late October I'm sorry, that was 2023, that's actually 2 years ago now, you know, where we really started to establish a spread, and it hasn't really failed since then. And honestly, I mean, inside of a nice bull market, you're not really going to expect it to fail. It also doesn't necessarily last that long, so that could actually be a top indicator. But, you know, if we take a look at when it really started to establish a spread, which is probably over here, you know, some nice bounces coming off here. It did save the market on this occasion here, and again, but not very good in terms of that bounce. But, you know, this was basically effective for about, let's say, you know, 500 days. And I'm not saying that it's going to be similar to that right now, but let's just say we're at about 460 days right now, right? But I do definitely think that this does produce another move up for us, and I think that that move is still going to be taking us quite high into the 100,000 territory and beyond. I think that this is going to depend a lot more on macroeconomic factors at this stage. I do think it's quite clear that the impact that we're seeing from laws and, you know, regulations or whatever, tariffs in the United States, whatever, stuff like that, I do think that it's actually having the biggest impact on this market right now. And so if that continues to worsen, then, you know, it's not going to be looking great for Bitcoin potentially. But at the very same time, I want to be very, very real with you guys, putting these bullshit news narratives to the side. If we just kind of really pay attention to what's actually going on in this market, ladies and gents, I think one of the things that we can see very, very clearly at this stage is the fact that this market has been due for a pullback for a little bit of time, okay? If we take a look at this right here on the daily time frame, we really kind of try and digest what this market has been giving us. We can look at this right here on this chart. I think this is quite a, look, we've rallied up quite spectacularly. It's been a 580% rally, and then inside of that, the worst retracement that we've seen was a 30%, and now down to current price, we're down by about 20. So really, just 20% from the all-time high. We're seeing some quite extreme fear. We're seeing really, really quite negative sentiment. All I'm doing right now is just kind of pointing out the facts. I'm not really bringing emotions into this right now or feelings. I'm just kind of laying it out for you. I know that you agree with me 100%. We've seen a spectacular rally, really. I know that it's been shit to live through, but it has been quite a strong rally so far. We've seen a 30% correction right here. We've seen a 20% correction right here, and sentiment here is worse than at any point at any of the lows that I think we've seen. Maybe comparable down to where we were at 15k, quite honestly. Again, you guys let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree with that and why. I'd be very, very curious, and obviously I'll be there reading your comments as well. If you do drop comments that are insightful, believe it or not, I do actually reply. But if it's just like a little comment about like, yeah, I think it's gonna go up or whatever, then I'll maybe just give you a heart emoji instead, but that's still pretty good. But I want those discussions, so if you want them with me, then definitely drop your ideas in the comment section there. But like I said, 20% down, very, very poor sentiment. To me, this does scream that there's a bounce at some point. I don't know when that bounce is coming. I haven't drawn this properly. Hang on, sorry, I'm completely wrong. It's actually now a 23% bounce, but it doesn't really make much difference, does it? But if we are looking at it again from that perspective, then there's a little bit more downside to go, right? From this absolute high down to this low right here at the previous all-time high, that's still a 30% drop, and we've shown that we can actually have a 30% drop pretty nicely and still carry on the uptrend, and actually we've known this for a very long time, to be honest. We've known this in Bitcoin for a very long time now, that we can actually drop down by this much and then continue in our bull market. On this occasion here, granted, we didn't really set a spectacular all-time high, but that was a 55% drop down, and then we still stayed bullish. So I think the idea that Bitcoin can suffer a big percentage drop and then the bull market is over, I just think that idea is silly. I think that the bull market is over really when the bull market is over, which I know that doesn't say much, but for me the criteria is going to be when we start kind of sweeping significant lows. So for me, the significant low to sweep here would basically be kind of 54, anywhere kind of above 54, and actually we're still punching in higher lows. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we actually look at the lows that this market has set, look at this right here, we've got quite a clear set of lows right here in this market, and this shit can come down anywhere higher than 54k, capture some support, and I'm still bullish with it. And I've been saying that for a very, very long time. Other people, they're going to be getting very upset by these percentage moves, and that's probably because they're overinvested and they don't really have a good grasp of this market, and they certainly haven't been around for long. But those of you that have been with me here for a couple of cycles, you're going to actually be quite okay to stomach these kind of drops here, and you're actually going to understand that this is completely normal and that we're not getting upset by percentage moves. What we're doing is we're actually observing where the support levels are, okay? And it doesn't matter how far the support level is in terms of percent. The support level could be, on this occasion here, drawing these lines very, very crudely, the support level is about 22% away from our low. It could be 22%, it could be 50%, right? It doesn't matter. On this occasion here, it was 50, and then it carried on going up. And we really need to understand that the data is right in front of us. If you choose to ignore it, then that's your loss. But this is what we're doing here on this YouTube channel, is we are understanding that Bitcoin moves uniquely. Bitcoin is highly volatile. Bitcoin moves in some crazy, crazy ways. And as a result of all of that, we understand very, very well that Bitcoin can actually move down by significant percentage points. But as long as it's just coming back down to a support zone, we're really not going to be that worried about it. Okay, so that's how I feel about this market for sure. Hopefully that's kind of bringing some light onto things for you as well. If it is, you already know what to do. Smash up those likes, subscribe, tick the bell, take advantage of these huge offers if you're not from a restricted region as well. Super, super cool opportunities. And by the way, those of you that are interested, we've got a very, very special, very, very serious one-to-one program. It's 12 weeks. It's very, very serious. It's also expensive, but if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, I'll tell you what, nobody that's ever joined has failed to pay off that fee, either in terms of preventing massive losses or in terms of maximizing gains. It's been a stunning success. I'm very, very happy with it. And if you guys want to kind of get yourself inside, then please be aware, like I said, there is a significant investment attached to this. But if that sounds interesting to you, then please do reach out, and a member of the team will definitely give you a little bit of information about that. But bringing it back to the market, like I said, a little bit of a drop down to about 72. How low could we penetrate into this zone? We've already kind of discussed that, but just to shed a little bit more light on this, obviously one of my favorite tools is just going to be this this Fibonacci retracement. And if we kind of draw this from the bottom at 54 to the top, we've got a really, 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 really nice golden pocket right here, sitting between 72 and 68, 69. So this is kind of be my favorite zone to see Bitcoin kind of drop back into if we can get there. I don't know if we can, but previously we're on the daily time frame here. We more or less kind of finished trading inside of this range within about a week. And so far it's been about 2 days. So maybe things intensify. It's another kind of 16% down from here. And these would be very, very good, healthy levels for the market to kind of see itself return back down to. So that's going to be something that I'm definitely kind of watching out for, just to see how that ends up going. Now, on the note of Bitcoin's dominance, we are seeing Bitcoin's dominance come down a little bit more again. We are seeing some gains, not really in some of the big coins, not even in Solana, surprisingly. Solana has actually fallen below one of its more important levels here. Now, you can still make an argument for support, but it gets weaker and harder at these levels, and it does definitely start creating some cause for concern, in my opinion. I'm not that concerned. I don't actually think it's that bad. Some other coins are actually doing well, like Binance Coin, XRP, for example, really, really holding up very, very well indeed. Even Doge holding up to some extent at these levels as well. Not particularly well, not as well as the others, but also not kind of falling below critical levels like Solana, right? So the altcoin market is in a bit of a tilt right now. It's not extremely clear one way or the other which way the altcoin market wants to go. Just take a look at Tron's strength, by the way. This is so impressive. We just take a look at TRX BTC. Look at that. It's actually gaining quite nicely against Bitcoin right now. So, and we're on the daily, by the way. So, I mean, this has just been a constant uptrend for, pretty much for TRX, since the beginning of this month, which I think is obviously, quite impressive. Not really sure how that happened, but I'm not complaining either. A lot of money being made right there, so that's completely fine. But, if we take a look at some of the others that we're kind of a little bit speculating on a little bit more, they haven't done too well. Let's just take a very quick look at Altcoin as well. I know that that's been getting a lot of attention recently, and Altcoins, yeah, it's just bounced off a little support zone here. It's up by about 20, so that's definitely pretty nice, but still really not looking particularly great, I think. I mean, to be fair, it could actually come to the top of this range, so we'll see, but it's got a lot of, it's got a lot that it has to deal with right here, and it's also got Bitcoin as well, so, I do think that these things are making it a little bit more challenging. We'll continue to see, for the most part, they're just kind of hinging on what Bitcoin does. It seems like they're enjoying themselves a little bit during this drop, but, I wouldn't expect that these are anything more than, short-lived little rallies at the moment, to be honest with you. To be honest, I wouldn't expect that. And if Bitcoin does end up kind of continuing to drop, then I think it's like traditional finance, right? I think if Bitcoin drops, then the altcoins will follow, and if traditional finance drops, then Bitcoin will follow. So I think that's kind of still what we're pegged at. So we're just going to be having to watch a little bit more of that new real world news stuff. If you guys want me to cover that, then definitely let me know in the comment section. I'd be quite happy to start integrating a little bit more like the Trump news or whatever, because it does seem actually quite relevant these days. S&P 500, we're quite aware it's got this little support zone here. It's about to finish trading, isn't it? Yeah, it's got about an hour at the time of me recording this, so not particularly long until the S&P ends up closing this trading session here, but a little bit of support right here. Clearly it's worked, but I mean, it was only a little bit. I'm not going to be expecting miracles, so I definitely think that another kind of further 1% drop for the S&P could be on the cards right here, and if it is, obviously that probably does correspond to an 80k, maybe even high 70k Bitcoin, so that's going to be something that I'll continue to watch out for as well. But with that, ladies and gents, I really hope you have enjoyed this video. You know exactly what to do. If you have, smash up those likes, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff, and I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.